Hello guys, and glad to have you on board again today. Exceptionally, we're going to start right away with Bitcoin because I suspect this is going to be the one you expect the most today, and actually this is where we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get it started right now. There is quite a lot of interesting things we could talk about if we have a look at the correlation stuff today, but I'm just going to keep it for the weekly update that I'm probably going to get to record as late as possible to get as much information as possible to the candle close, which is going to be absolutely very impacting this week. So we're going to make this correlation study and stuff like that. Plenty of stuff to talk about. As you can see, having some kind of a K-shaped trend in which some assets don't nearly follow these. So really interesting stuff to talk about during the weekend. Anyway, we're just going to keep this one simple. Talking about our big boy Bitcoin as a reference, we are trying to break the third range boundary limit over this range. Yesterday has been another attempt to break in here, but like we said in the live room, this signal in here was giving us quite a decent probability of this not to be a breakout to follow through, and it actually failed. It didn't even manage its way right to the third range boundary. We just consolidated throughout multiple hours, try to break on the lower time frame, try to break to reintegrate the structure, actually totally failed and managed to build a support, which means we've just extended the range in the meantime. And today we're doing just the exact same thing, trying the same old stupid range breakouts, but this time there is a difference. We are getting to test the third range boundary, but so far this is not a successful stuff. So at that point, it's still a big question mark, but when you test a third range boundary and fail the breakout, generally means you retrace right down to the support and try the same thing on the opposite direction. So I would say if this truly is a failure, which we don't know yet, we're probably going to get a much more defined condition over 2 minutes from there. But depending on what that is, if we fail to break the context, then that's not necessarily good. It's not the end of the world either, but that signals a fairly high probability of the market prices to return down there. Now, whatever is going to happen out there is still a big question mark, because when we get a fake range breakout, okay, you can just have the exact same thing on the opposite direction, which means we could just try the fake breakout out there and find some supports. So I would say we really need to break this level, and there is the cluster. You see that the context have been lifting out there. We do have moving averages, so definitely 1700 and 500 $17K and $500 is definitely an area of interest. And if we fail in here, you can be damn sure that we're going to get to test this level today. Whatever is going to happen out there is still a big question mark, like I said. It would be, in my personal opinion, kind of a red flag. But that's also the reason why I sent you a notification a day ago to tell you I was going for cover trade, not at the best possible price. I actually managed to get just a median price over there, but I'm definitely not risk managing 15-minute trades. I'm managing my daily, weekly exposition to the market. And I think in here, I'm not that confident into the probability for this market to keep on going. Therefore, I'm starting to lock on gains. You need to understand that getting hedge position, which means taking short trades against bullish exposition to the market, it's just the same as taking profits. Partial profit taking. So I took 25% in here, though that is really a limited action on my side. I'm not clearly going bearish, and not at all. It's just I think it's an appropriate time to start reducing bullish exposition to the market as price rose significantly. Therefore, now risks are rising as well. But don't nearly get me wrong. It's not going bearish in the market. It's definitely not about that. Okay, so basically the area of interest, okay, we just made the 1 hour candle close. We're closing outside inside the context, so this is not yet enough to consider a breakout has been done. This is of course too late to say that this has failed. We need to retrace down to the support context in that perspective. So today's clusters are going to be near there. Okay, there is a breakout level, but like I said, the technicals suggest I'm definitely not going to follow this breakout. But if it is succeeded and managed its way into breaking the third range boundary, then we need to assess its first validation target. And in that perspective, that would be the level to break. Okay, or eventually even, well, we should be considering this one. This is really where the breakout would occur. So, yeah, normally we're supposed to take that. So I would say this is the breakout level. Even though, like I said, I don't see the breakout candle yet, and I really don't like it. So let's, no, it doesn't work. No, it's not working as a breakout. So let's take this level, the lowest candle close, and approximately that gives us something into this area. So we call it late 18K going right up to 19K. That gives us a first validation target area in here where we find, oh, guess what? The resistant context, our trend channels market top, or trend channels top line. So this is definitely where the second cluster stands. Okay, let's call it 19K area, but this is grossly vague area. Okay, so out there, this is where the breakout will reach out its target. Reaching out the target doesn't mean the market goes trending, okay? We could go there and then fail. That wouldn't change anything, okay? So today, here's a breakout level. Like I said, my indicators just tell me I'm not going to follow this one, which means it is not yet enough of a signal and risk limitation to consider taking off my cover trade, which means I'll still hold this one. But of course, if we were to break this 19K area and keep pushing beyond the suspected targets, I would definitely consider taking the shit out of it. Okay, that means I'm covering a trade, I'm covering for a risk that simply doesn't show up. Okay, of course, if we were to go down there, I would eventually consider reinforcing that short coverage for up to 33%, but definitely not going any fancy, okay? And when I say sell entry, that simply means that this is a reminder for me if we get there and if this alert triggers. It's just as simple as it is, okay? It just means this to remind me whatever I could be doing if we get out there. I'm definitely not going to sell eyes closed. That means I need to have confident levels, signals that suggest it's work along as well. And by the way, I can readjust my level as we have a new context. So this is all about it today. Okay, I'm monitoring how things goes. If we retrace, then there is a definitely, now that we've tested and rejected the third range boundary, there's definitely going to be a bearish breakout in here. The question is it going to succeed holding closes below this level? Because if it's just going there to make the same stupid fake breakout in the opposite direction, then that would just be keeping ourselves into the range without breaking it, and that would just be the dumbest possible thing to short sell the bottom of this area. Okay, so don't get me wrong, we really need to retrace down to these levels and break down this channel to really assess that we have found the market top, and therefore that we have just managed to handle the risk of this 7 to 18K area, which is my weekly to monthly area of risk limitation. Okay, that would be fairly normal to actually range into this area, but even breaking out of this channel doesn't mean we're going to have to collapse and go straight line to 12K, but this is of course one of the ways it can be done. That's the reason why I'm partially covering my portfolio and not going bearish. That's really a message I hope you guys have got by now. Okay, I'm just going to change that as well just to be alerted if time goes on. All right, now time to talk about the stock market. Still the same old thing in here, mature range, very tough range in here because of the stupid length in here. That's the Fibonacci cluster filtering out there to give us the boundaries we wanted. So we failed yesterday to reintegrate the dumb zone, which means we got into the dumb zone and sold back again to the blue area. Question today is, are we going to reintegrate successfully to be able to cross it and get to mature this range? And in that perspective, that would be a triangle structure. Option number two, we keep failing in here, we go back to the blue area and we'll see whatever happens out there. Do we have a support or do we have a breakdown? Remember that on these mature ranges, we can only do one stuff. For experienced traders only, we can eventually trade the fourth range boundary on the higher time frame, though on the H1 time frame, as a trend follow opportunity if we do have a trend on the higher time frames, which could be the case in here for our indices, though I would definitely agree buying this mature range, but needs to be done out of Fibonacci clusters. Therefore, the 23% is right below our fits. The next area would be the 38% Fibonacci retracement area. So my big question mark is, are we going to support this area, or eventually are we going to go breaking, triggering some stupid trades and get into this area where I think some interesting supports could actually trigger? This is definitely not the end of the world. That would be retracing to this very visible supportive area out there, very probable support, ascending context, rising moving average. So there is quite a significant numbers of technicals suggesting that there would probably be support out there. Okay, so remember that on a weekly basis, this is our important technical level, the 3500. So 3500, even if we were to break these, I doubt we can actually sustain multiple daily candle closes below there. And the big question would be, are we going to close the week out there? Because remember what I said on last week's update, if we get to make a weekly close below 3500, that would signal quite some shit. But the fact is, regarding at the structure we have underlying on the shorter time frame, I would doubt that, which means even if we get to close the week out there today, I wouldn't be firmly bearish. I would just say this is not great at all for the bulls, but I think anyway we're probably going to build a support and rebound by next week. Which means if we even close below 3,500 this week, that doesn't mean next week will have to be a surging to the downside trough. It could definitely be, though don't get me wrong, I'm not going to blindly buy this area on Friday. I might take a first entry eventually, but that's all about it. And more importantly, I'm probably going to take profits on the cover trades. That's probably most of what I'm going to be doing. I don't really expect to reinforce my bullish exposition to this market out there. But anyway, that's what we deal with right now. Okay, the next technical area for this mature range will be the top of the potential trend line we have in here. If we manage our way into crossing the entire dump zone today, trading in there makes absolutely no sense. More importantly, in a mature range. So it's really all about, are we going to break out there and manage your way into breaking the third range boundary? If that's it, then I think targets for next week's will be the 3,500 and stuff like that we've talked about. But until and as long as we remain below this dump zone, I think the problem is that we're very likely going to target this area where some potential supports probably will occur. And in that perspective, instead of a triangle, we'll just get these things. I mean, classical flag structure, nothing too fancy. And of course, this area could definitely be a support. All right, that's going to be it for today. So very cautious into Bitcoins. This is definitely where the action will take place today. Stock indices feel pretty boring to me. I'm not going to buy this support. I don't have sufficient enough signals to do so. I'll care about this area in here as intraday short trades and stuff like not short trade, short-term trades. And if this area isn't bought, then eventually a tiny breakout trade to try targeting this area. But of course, no overweek trade for me out planned at that point. Bye, guys.